he did start for that one practice. But would you say that like how did he look? Did he look like somebody that could compete like running with the ones? Like did he look just as good or like
For
just
me,
still
he
look like a rookie
started
out there?
slow. Like he started slow in the red zone period, and that's kind of I think that's kind of been a trend, right? I don't know if I'm overreacting, but like I feel like when he's gotten work with ones, twos, whatever, like he seems to kind of start practice a bit slow and then warms up as the day goes on. The middle period usually really good when he starts stacking completions and everything. But that day in particular, I think he had four straight completions in the 2 minute drill, if I remember right, to go and like set up a field goal to win it or something like that in the situation that they were doing. So like he looked good, but again, it wasn't anything where you were like, oh my god. But he made a couple tight window throws that really stood out to me, and like very much, it's clear that he trusts his arm. He's making some throws into some spots
Yeah.
where like you're not going to do that if you're iffy or you don't feel comfortable. That's what I drew from that day from him.
Yeah,
Okay.
most definitely. Like he looked good, but it's still you can tell it still wasn't enough for the staff to say, all right, let's start splitting reps between Cousins and Mendoza. So I think that was a sign of progress. It showed that like if we need him out, I think to me that was a clear sign that if we need him out there in case Cousins is having a bad day and he throws like 4 picks in the game and they got to make a switch to trying to
Yeah.
change momentum, or Cousins gets hurt, you there you just they I think those reps with the one show like, all right, if we need him, we can throw him out there if needed. But let's hold him back and not put him out there until it's truly time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I thought overall,
And
he
I'm
like
with
you
that
said,
too.
I think he started slow, but I thought he picked up and he overall had a effective a day with the ones and something you think they can build on. But still, I still think this is it's Kirk Cousins teams,
Okay.
and when players talk, and I think we kind of like have to listen to what the players have to say at these
Yeah.
podiums. They're talking like Kirk Cousins is their starting guy. Like that's like
Yeah. Pay
they
attention
commend
to what they're
him.
saying. Yeah. Yeah.
They commend him for his leadership. They commend him for kind of like talent, like being a coach on the field, saying praising how like just his knowledge of Kubiak's system is helping us on the field because he's telling us where we need to go, how to run our routes. So he's like another coach on the field when he's under center. So their comments just gives me the impression like they already know who their guy is at the moment.
Yeah.
And remember, I'm going to go back to what Kubiak said in the beginning. I remember I asked him very early, like, when does he want to make that decision to name a starter? And he said, we're going to let the players decide. And just from what the players have said already, it seems like Kirk Cousins is in the driver's seat to be QB1 and always has been. And I think they know that this is what's going to be. I think the team knows this is what's going to be at the beginning of the year. How it ends, we do not know. And like I said, a lot of factors are going to play in terms of,
Yeah.
health, player performance, where the team is at in the standings, how the offense is looking as a whole. I think a lot of those factors are going to determine when we see Fernando Mendoza. But yeah, to answer the question that started this topic is that it's going to be Mendoza really has to. Gosh, he has to
Yeah.
look like a generational prospect
Yeah.
Yeah.
to change the narrative to me.
And I
Yeah.
think that's something that he would have to build to. Because again, like we haven't seen that yet. Again, that is not a knock, not saying that he's not going to go there, all that stuff. But like
Yes.
he just hasn't been that yet. And he, again, very
Yeah.
much so looks like a guy that's learning. And I constantly go back to like him at Indiana. Like beginning of the year, for him at Indiana, nobody was talking about him being a national champion. Nobody was talking about him being a Heisman winning quarterback, any
Yeah.
of that stuff. But he built his game up to that. And I think that's kind of what it is. Much like we talked about with Jermod McCoy, that it feels like, there's a buildup here. I think that's the case with Fernando as well. And so there will be a time to come for that. Before we move on,
Yeah.
I just have one more question with the Fernando stuff for you guys.
Yeah.
Because I was talking about it last night at the stadium with somebody. And just looking at the schedule of like where the possibility of him being thrown out there could be. And I know we talked about it, I think, in the first show that we did here. But I just was thinking about it, that game against Cleveland. Now that Myles Garrett isn't there, that one looks kind of enticing, depending on so many other factors that could be going into the season and everything. But that game against Cleveland would make a lot of sense because you get him that game, then you go into the bye week. You have 2 weeks to go and review the tape and do all that before you dive into dive into the game outside of the bye week. And all of a sudden, like now you've added an extra game in there that he can kind of stack under his belt going into the offseason too. I just think that would be an interesting point to possibly get him in there because I've been looking so much at after the bye week. But when I was
Yeah.
going back and forth with him on that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think when you look at, I still think if the earliest we can see him, and this is if Kirk like barring any health and
Exactly. There's a lot of things that would have to happen.
Yeah, and I think the earliest will be week 8 against the Jets on November 1st. I think that's the earliest we can see him. And I think the latest, I think, will be that Browns game. Because I think between week 8 and week 12, I think we're going to know.
What the
season's going to be.
You're going to know. You're going to know what the season is going to be. And I think either way, I think you probably will prefer the week 12 because at least you don't have to worry about him going against, Seattle, Denver on the road, LA, Buffalo, New England.
Yeah, but it's a brutal stretch.
It's a brutal stretch, and if it's the early, he's gonna be right in the middle of it. Like but if he comes in at week 8, which I said is the earliest, he's just gonna get the San Francisco, Seattle, and Denver game. So he's gonna get the 3. Like it's gonna be 3 weeks of tough football, but at least it's not the whole gauntlet of games. I think the earliest would be November 1st against New York. I think that's to be a good ease in. I think a good time for his debut. And the latest, it would be the Browns. You get that, you get the bye week, the go over the film, kind of like maybe if you want to change the game plan a little bit, to kind of fit to incorporate things that he does extremely well. I think it gives him that time. And you got the Browns, LA. You get 6 games to evaluate, and I think that's that's some good. That's some significant number of reps he would get. So I agree with you. I think to me those are the two dates I'm eyeing for Mendoza to make his debut.
That'd be so dirty to do to Geno. You throw him out there for his first game.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That'd be crazy. That'd be a crazy matchup. I like that. I was more of after week 8, because after 8 weeks we should know what type of team we are by that time, and I felt like that Niner game, the Battle of the Bay, that would be a tough one, but I know that would sell like hotcakes too, for Raider fans to go out to the Bay for the very first game. But that would be a tough one. It was either that one or the Chargers after the bye week. But I think what you guys been saying, I think it makes a lot of sense, easing them into some easier matchups, especially just to see what he got. But either way, like I stated before, I don't want to see him this year if he's not the starter and he's not balling out in preseason like we all stated. Yeah. But somebody in the comments that I wanted to ask you guys, this is knock on wood though. If Cousins were to go down, early on, before we get into the season, knock on wood, right? Hypothetically, this would be more of a quarterback competition between Fernando and AOC, right?
See,
who would you guys rather see?
I've got some thoughts on this because I think if it were in season, let's say, I don't even want to pick a game because I don't want to put that in the ether because that's so messed up to do to anybody. But let's just say Kirk goes down mid game in the season somewhere. I think it would probably make sense to throw AOC out there mid game because then you're not throwing Fernando in there without him being the guy and having a week to prepare and meetings and taking all the reps with the ones and all that different stuff. I think that makes more sense to do it there. If he were to get hurt in the preseason, I still think it's Fernando, but I would love your take on that one, Ryan.
I think they'll go Fernando. I think there's a reason why he's getting all of the second team reps on the depth chart. He is QB2.